I have the Instagram app, and I'm just your average man. I use it often daily to follow my favorite sports teams, check in on pals, and do other things. Visiting the Explore page is one thing I do frequently. All of these are merely a collection of sporadic postings from accounts you may not follow but find interesting. Sometimes it's fun to look at them because it changes drastically each time you log in. I can't recall when exactly this began, but I do remember seeing the same image twice on the Explore page. I noticed it a third time, but it's not a huge concern. Even though I found this to be very odd, I chose not to click on it. However, I saw it again a few times later. The photo kept popping up. I'm not sure how many times I saw it. I finally gave in and clicked on it, perplexed as to why I had kept seeing it. This image was of an automobile. It appeared to be arbitrary. The car appeared ordinary, nothing special about it, neither ancient nor new. It was a four-door car, gray in color. The photo had no comments and no indication of how many people liked it. When I clicked on the page, the profile photo was one of the automobiles, and the word was a random string of numbers. There were merely 5 followers on the page. There were 4 pictures on the page, each featuring a different car. It appeared as though someone had simply strolled along the road and snapped images of any old parked automobile. However, none of the automobiles stood out much. They were all parked on the side of the road, with one in a driveway and the other in a parking lot. One of the cars in the pictures was identical to the brand and type of the one I owned, I observed. After giving the picture a closer look, I quickly discovered that it was my automobile. It was parked in my driveway, I could tell. When I saw this, it gave me the chills. This account was run by who? I showed a few of my pals the image. There were no remarks or subtitles on any of the images. Although my pals thought it was incredibly strange, they couldn't figure out who would do it or why. I was so inquisitive that I considered leaving a message or leaving a comment on the page, but I ultimately chose not to. The following day, I returned to Instagram. I saw the same image of my automobile on the Explore page this time. It was the same one when I clicked on it, despite my doubts that it was something fresh. I noticed they had posted a narrative, so I clicked on the profile once more. It was a polling tale. The survey asked, "Which one?" Next, there were the numerals 1, 2, 3, and 4. I didn't vote since at the time I had no idea what it meant. I choose to ignore it because I found this to be quite strange. I ended my Instagram account and stayed home the remainder of the day. There in the driveway, as it always was my automobile. That evening I went to bed, and the following morning, I got up to go to work. It was gone as I left for my car. It was unbelievable to me. I recalled every detail of the posts. I contacted my boss after the cops. Fortunately, my supervisor was understanding and allowed me to arrive a little bit later once I finished processing the police report. They deleted everything I could provide them with, including the link to the odd Instagram page. Sadly, it had been removed when I looked. I was given the assurance by the police that they would make every effort to locate my car. I was given a lift to and from work. Through insurance, I was able to secure a rental automobile later that day. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the following few days until I eventually received a call informing me that my car had been found by the police. About 20 miles further, it was discovered abandoned and parked on the side of the road. Fortunately, it was undamaged. Though I believe the police never identified the perpetrator, I was able to retrieve it. But the Instagram page was seriously weird. Was the purpose of the poll to determine which vehicle the perpetrator would steal? In any case, why would they upload these things to Instagram? In any case, I hope something similar never occurs again. This is something pretty strange that happened not too long ago. I have an Instagram page, but I won't post my identity since I want to stay anonymous. For the most part, I'm simply an ordinary man with a profession that I've been doing for a long. I used to occasionally share things on Instagram. However, I just started uploading reels. These are essentially quick films that you can share on Instagram, and they've gained a lot of popularity lately. I started posting quite a bit after simply playing about with them, and a few of them received a good number of likes. I continued posting the reels since I was getting more followers than I ever imagined. I eventually accumulated over 10,000 Instagram followers, and I truly appreciated sharing the authentic videos. I used to post them almost every day, from home or at work actually, wherever I was. The story takes place around the time I had been publishing reels for around 3 months. I saw I had a direct message on Instagram one day when I opened the app. Occasionally I would receive direct messages from those who had viewed my films or from friends who wanted to show me something. I won't name the company that sent this mail. Although they had a respectable amount of followers and were verified, I had never heard of them before. They mentioned how much they enjoyed my films and how they would like to support one of my next articles. I became really happy when I read this. I never imagined that the videos would bring in any money. I had no idea how much they were offering, but I thought the firm seemed quite intriguing, and anything was better than nothing. When I replied to them expressing my interest, they promised to send me an email with further information. The company offered to send me a few things in exchange for a blog post discussing them. After receiving their email, I completed a contract form with all of my details. After that, I waited and was informed that they would get them in about a week. Over the following few days, I carried on with my usual routine. I used to come home in the afternoon after work, although I usually left the office quite early every day. However, I was lucky enough to not have to report to work until 11 a.m. on Thursday of that week, albeit I would still leave at the same time. I normally left for work at around 7:30 in the morning, so being able to sleep in for a few hours was really great. My alarm was set for 9, but it failed to get me up. That was not quite when I was awakened, at around 8:30. I heard the sound of cracking glass as soon as I woke up. I was quite perplexed. Then there were more noises, like someone was trying to get inside my house. The sounds originated from the opposite side of the house, not far from the location of the dining room. Since the house wasn't very large, I could hear sounds coming from practically every area. There was undoubtedly someone inside with me. As I listened longer, I noticed more noises that might indicate more people there. My heart began pounding, and I was shocked by what was happening. At 8:30 in the morning, someone started breaking into my house. I set my phone to dial 191. It sounded like whoever was in here could care less about keeping quiet as the noises persisted. There might have been more than 2 persons present. I talked on the phone as quietly as possible, telling them everything that was happening. Fortunately for me, there was no indication that they were getting any closer to my bedroom. I hoped that they would arrive as quickly as possible when I hung up with 911. They said they will be here in a few minutes. I could still hear people moving around my house in the interim. I was terrified that my houseguest might take up residence in my bedroom. I knew it was still possible, even though I hadn't moved from the other end of the house at that point. My bedroom door was unlocked, and I wasn't about to take any chances. I made the decision to attempt moving into my restroom. It was in the corridor directly next to my bedroom, but I didn't want to make any noise as I opened my bedroom door and then closed the bathroom door. Before the folks in my house started approaching my bedroom, I made the decision to try it nonetheless. I made my way to my door and opened it as softly as I could. I cautiously made my way to the restroom door after it was open. But as I was making my way there, I heard approaching footsteps. I made a little more noise than I meant to as I hurried inside and closed the door. I locked the door once it closed. All I wanted was to be inside safety. Then I heard the footsteps retreating and leaving. I could just make out the sounds of men's talking on the opposite side of the house. More movement ensued, and before long I could hear no noise at all, as though they had vanished. I waited for the cops for almost 5 more minutes while I was trapped inside the bathroom. I cautiously left the restroom when I heard them knocking on the door and made my way to my home's front entrance. I opened the door for the cops, and I talked to them as they searched the entire area. The intruders, the males, had left. A rear window from the dining room that overlooked the backyard was broken. A number of items within were also taken. Although relieved to be safe, I was rather miffed about it. All I could hope for was that they would identify the perpetrator. What relevance does this have to Instagram then? I was completely indifferent at first, but after a few days passed and I had not received any mail, I decided to check Instagram. I was about to ask the company directly when it would arrive, but they had just disappeared. Their account appeared to have been terminated. I discovered an additional verified page for the company when I searched for them. It dawned on me that I had provided my address in the contract I was required to sign. In addition, it's highly likely that they would have seen my home details and my job schedule if they had followed my posts. Regarding the page getting certified, I learned that anyone may now pay a little fee to have any page validated. I believe everything was set up. Why? Perhaps it was just an odd coincidence, I don't know, but I'm quite sure it wasn't. Looking through my Instagram feed, I was astounded by what I saw. A sequence of terrifying pictures was there, just in front of me. The first was a picture of a young woman clutching a bloody knife, her hands shaking and her eyes wide with fear. The next showed a man with horrifically damaged flesh, crying in anguish. I let out a gasp and attempted to navigate away, but I was stuck. The visuals became more and more unsettling as I watched. I witnessed a man being burned alive, a lady being tortured with pliers, and a toddler losing limbs. I couldn't take my eyes off of them, but I couldn't stand to look any longer. My phone was stuck when I attempted to close the application. I watched the sights unfold in front of me and it seemed like hours had gone. I thought I was losing my mind since they were all so terrifying, worse than the last. At last the pictures ceased, and my phone became dark. I was stunned and incredulous for a while. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. I staggered out of bed and splashed some water on my face in the bathroom. I caught sight of an unfamiliar person's reflection in the mirror. My skin looked pale, and my eyes were bloodshot. It seemed like years had passed since I last saw myself. I was aware that I needed to leave the apartment. After grabbing my keys, I bolted out the door. I had the unshakable impression that I was being watched as I strolled down the street. Several times I peered over my shoulder, but nothing caught my eye. However, even though I was blind, I could sense that something was off. It was there, in the depths of my gut. There was nowhere for me to hide while I was being hunted.